There we go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, I'm Frank Messina, and announcements that we need to make. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 signing of the Acts of 2023 and extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A-20, until March 31st, 2025, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings as required for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to join the meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410. Conference ID 460-692-498 #, or by joining the meeting online via Microsoft Teams to the link posted on the agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, despite our best efforts, we will not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of the meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. Thank you very much. As no one is recording the meeting, we will proceed. The first order of business is a roll call. Bob Lear.
Here.
Steve Burlingame.
Here.
Nancy Barr. Nancy's absent. Stephanie Hamilton.
Here.
Sandy Porter.
Here.
Janet Tennyson.
Here.
Robert Stevens.
Here.
And the chair is here. Okay. We have one regular member of the Historical Commission absent, and as a result, Robert Stevens, who is our alternate, will participate and will be a voting member of the commission. Okay? Any other questions? Speaking of that, by the way, we have one open position available for the members of the public. If anyone's interested in joining the commission, please let Christina Bassett know. We're always looking for members to fill out the commission. All right. Next item of business will be the minutes. Minutes of September 17th. Everybody has had copies. Any comments or questions?
Could I make a motion that we accept the minutes of September 17th, 2024?
You need to press your button there, kiddo.
Could I make a motion?
Much. Any other comments or questions? Only comment. Thank you very much, Annie. He's captured the essence of our brief discussions. Thank you. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Bob?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. Okay, we have effectively two applications for public hearing today. Both applications are either in a National Register District or in an eligible National Register District. And as a result, both are being heard under Chapter 158, which is our demolition delay bylaw. And in addition, are being held under provisions of 12E of the Cape Cod Commission Regional Policy Plan of items situated in an eligible or a National Register District. Okay, having said that, the first application that we have is 24024. The address is 369 Old Stage Harbor Road. Again, Chapter 158, and in accordance with the Cape Cod Commission Act. So, if you want to come forward to the lectern and introduce yourself while you're getting yourself set. This is a situation where we have a home which is located on Stage Harbor Road. which was found to be eligible as a National Registered District and therefore eligible for a discretionary referral to the Cape Cod Commission Act, in addition under Chapter 158. The home is in both a national, an area, there's an area form which you have, CHAK, which was an area form that was for determine the eligibility of the area as a National Registered District. You have a copy in your file, which was provided by the applicant, and we appreciate that. In addition, there's an individual Form A, Form B, CHA's 396 for the actual house, the Captain Daniel Howe's house, better known as the Corn Crib. So we have two elements. We can dispense with something very quickly because I don't think, hopefully, you're not going to question the historical integrity or of the particular property as an historical structure.
No, we're not.
Okay, fine. It's a two-step process we go for. First time we determine, is this home historically significant? If we determine it's not historically significant, then we say, thank you very much, appreciate you coming. And, but then we proceed to the next phase. It is historically significant, or what are we gonna do about it, if anything? It doesn't say we have to, or we do, but just goes through the pro forma. So why don't we eliminate that quickly, Mr. Lear?
Well, that's the Chapter 158 piece. I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building located at 769 Stage Harbor Road is historically significant because it is in whole or in part 75 years old or more, is listed within an area on this, it's within an area listed on the National Register of Historic Places, or is subject of a pending application for such listing. And the commission also finds that it's associated with one or more historical persons within the town history and possesses architectural value or significance in terms of its period, style.
Second.
Okay, right. We got a second?
Sandy second.
All right, no other discussion in public? Nope, okay. Roll call, Bob?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, that was the simple part. All right, having said that, the application, just for the members of the public, is related to modifications being proposed to the exterior of the home, specifically the two chimney structures and the front doors. So I just wanted to clarify that. I know you're going to present it, but in some cases, you don't mention the doors and then you mention the doors, but, so it's really both items we're going to be talking about this morning.
That is
So,
correct.
having said that, why don't you introduce yourself and we can get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, terrific. For the record, my name's John Falacci. I'm the Vice President and Project Manager for Cape Associates, and I'm here representing the owners, Charles and Cassie Lacalade. And I'd like to just introduce them. They're watching via Zoom. And so the Lacalades, although the home could be considered recently purchased by them, have ties to Chatham for generations, starting with their grandmother, and they've been coming here regularly ever since, so early 1900s. Charles's father and uncle have purchased property here. Charles has worked summer jobs. He might have even pumped your gas when he was working at the Getty gas station. His sister taught tennis. He volunteered at the community center. Both his uncle and his father, chief benefactors of the Opium Theater. And I say that only so they have maybe a different position than you, but they're not an out-of-towner coming in looking to do a tear down. In fact, it's probably just the opposite. So they have a position on what they would like to do with the property, but they purchased the property They've been maintaining it, and they've started it, which is going to be probably a lengthy and tedious restoration to the property. It is historical. You see them on a regular basis here, so you know.
Are you guys in Texas right now?
Yes, they're in Texas.
No, I was just saying early good morning to you.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, we're in Austin, Texas.
Well, okay, what's the time
Hi,
there
how's it
now?
going? It's 9:41.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad, okay.
Yeah, we got up at the crack of 9.
Well, good morning.
So,
Yeah, thank you for convening the meeting. We're interested in how this proceeds. I think John's very well informed on the details, and we trust him to kind of share our vision for what we'd like to do with the house, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much.
okay. So the Lackalades, they consider Chatham home, even though they have split addresses. So their ancestors may not have stepped off the Mayflower when it stopped at Provincetown.
Neither did mine.
But they have generations here that's now going to great-grandchildren, cousins, and so deep ties to the Chatham. So they have respect for the community, and they're not looking to change that. We've acknowledged that the house is significant, but we are here today to ask permission to remove the chimneys. We don't believe the chimneys are significant for the historic quality. And our goal is to be able to proceed with a phase that's been in the works for well over a year. It's been a long time designing. As I said, they didn't want to, the house is pretty much the same as it's been. As you can see in the picture, and if you had the historic picture of the registry, really unchanged on the outside except for wear and tear with overage. That's not the photo, but if you go to the one that shows the location plan, it is on that. Yes. So there's a picture of earlier days. So the chimneys are at a point, they've deteriorated. They haven't been functioning over decades, maybe a century. They were covered up on the interior. There was no fireplace visible on the inside. They were never used. You know, a lot of old chimneys, when they brought in modern heating systems used for the flue, these chimneys have not. And unfortunately, they've deteriorated to the point where they can't even be repaired. They would need to be replaced. And that's something that my clients do not want to do because they won't be functioning if they're replaced. There's no need for a flue in the building. We're concerned about, so the facts are they're concerned about safety concerns. I noted the mortar has failed. It can be removed by your finger. The masons, it might have been intentionally as they lean up, as they go through the second floor. It's called corbelling, as you know. But with the failing mortar, it's even more so. And one of the chimneys has to have structural, you can see, well, that picture there is requiring outdoor supports to keep it in place. So to the point of significance, there are many chimneys that are not visible from the street, houses across the town, the region. There are many houses that don't have chimneys visible on Stage Harbor Road from the road. And There are houses that were allowed to be knocked down that were historical houses and then rebuilt without chimneys. And, you know, requiring that the chimneys be rebuilt or restored, we believe would be unfair, seeing how there's been a precedent set on homes. And there's several homes. The two homes not directly across the street, but almost across the street at an angle, do not have chimneys. Requires change, and change is tough. You know, all the roofs used to be, you know, shaker shingles. There's now asphalt shingles. And we've seen that change. Vent pipes used to be of brass or cast iron. Sometimes you'll still see the cast iron, but for a lot of it, with the plumbing code, now you see PVC. We try to hide that. We don't want to have that visible. But these are changes that have happened. You mentioned the LED light in the lighthouse. It's a change, probably better for the visibility, maybe not so much as far as to the historic look of that lighthouse. Again, we believe that the house maintains all of its significant qualities to keep it as a historic home. The design, I mentioned they've started the tedious task of restoring this home, which included replacing the windows to add some comfort. The house can only be used seasonally in its condition right now. There's no insulation. The new windows help. But they didn't ask to relocate or change the size or style of the windows. They put it right in. And, you know, it would have been nice to maybe have bigger windows, more light. These are features that a lot of qualities that people like to have today. But they are working around the exterior of the house. So in their design for the interior space, there are minor altercations that are going on, but everything is working around so the exterior can be left intact to the way you see it today. The structural, its bones are tired and weak and failing. I mentioned, and I appreciate those that came for the on-site meeting yesterday. It's weak, and it's going to need a lot of structural improvements just so it's up to code and not failing, and we don't have problems. I mean, I've seen trampolines have more stiffness than the loft floor does up there. The client, instead of just removing and putting in studs that are, you know, less than $10 each, they hired us, and we're going to be shimming, leveling, so the walls can be plumb and square. It certainly would be cheaper to remove it, but we're working with the old timbers. We're salvaging the floor, so we're not just ripping it out and gutting it. And again, this adds to it. So they should be recognized for this effort, because it is going to be multiple years at an expense to them to keep this house in its restoration. I'd like to touch upon the doors, because we mentioned that earlier today. So the doors are from Thermotrue's Classic Craft series, and it's the Artisan Collection, which is a collection that recognizes American craftsmen and is a true reflection of historical doors. And they, you know, this is for that reason. It's not a new door. They're not coming in with modern lights or windows. And they're very similar styles, can be found in town, even some on Stage Harbor Road. So at 280 Stage Harbor Road, the E.B. Harding House has a very similar door. That house is circa 1860. Then at 424 Stage Harbor Road, same style, they don't have the window, it's just the one panel. And then 376 Stage Harbor Road has a similar style. So these are not replicas of the existing doors, but they are of historic design quality, and it would allow the applicant to remove the ugly aluminum storm doors, and I think it would add quality to the street. There's the aluminum storm door, and it would add comfort to them as well. So, in summary, it's our wish and our desire to proceed with this project as soon as possible. As I said, it's been a project that's been in design and in the works for well over a year now. And, you know, the purpose of us starting this fall was to have it so they could use it this winter. Charles's mom was residing there, but they've made other accommodations because, you know, soon it'll be cold, and you know, the house, if it stays in its condition, uninsulated and so forth, it'll have to be shut down, and that's not their wish. Their wish is to use the home, particularly for a family member. They're not looking to improve it for Airbnb or rental or anything. As I said, Charles has been coming up here ever since he was a kid. His father's been coming up here since he was a kid, and they just enjoy Chatham. They consider it home, even though they have dual addresses. It's been a big part of their life. So they would ask that you accommodate them in these requests to remove the chimney and replace the doors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me preface by saying I don't think there's any intent here to slow this project down in any way. In fact, if I understand, this has been going on for a while. We did come in with the windows replacement, and I think, you know, it was done quite expeditiously. And then the process of the chimneys, which you know, tilted the windmill a little bit, the windows and the doors. And I think, you know, we let you know that we couldn't do that with an administrative approval because it was significantly in a eligible national registered district. And it took more time to do that because you got to go through the process. So, you know, appreciate it, but, you know, probably it could have been the whole thing a lot faster if we just done an application in the beginning and got the whole 9 yards. So I just want to make it clear, you know, it's not our intention, nor I think community development, to attempt to slow down, and we try to do things as expeditiously as possible. And I guess that's for the owners to know that we're not trying to put an administrative burden on you. But by the same token, we do have a structure that is historically significant, significantly historically significant, and was kind of one of the key structures within the proposed National Register District that we didn't finalize. We have it eligible, but we didn't finalize it because at the particular time there was a number of citizens did not want to proceed. So I wanted to put that aside first. In terms of, you know, what you're asking for, what you're talking about in terms of the chimneys, I hate to be funny about it, but I guess this particular commission has kind of a thing for chimneys, okay? Why? When we have a house that was built in the 17 and 1800s, you know, it had chimneys. Yes, you did refer to a number of homes in the area where there were no chimneys, Well, that's true. A lot of them are new homes. And in some cases, they're older homes, which ask for permission to remove them, and they may have outlasted the demolition delay, and they took the chimneys down. So when we have an opportunity, in my opinion now, this is my opinion, not the full commission, to look at a particular property and say, you know, what is architecturally significant about this property? You know, what's the character defining features of the property? And from my perspective, it's the chimneys. Those chimneys they're tall, they're quite interesting in terms of the design, and I think from my perspective, you're right. I mean, I understand, you know, the chimneys are old, they probably have not been properly maintained, they're not functional, okay. You know, we understand that, and we understand that, you know, you want to take them down and structurally, but there are alternatives. Of course, the chimneys could be repaired, but that's a big deal, okay? And I'm sure the homeowners don't want to go to that expense. But there are alternates that we have done, and we've done those alternates on a number of homes in Chatham. In fact, I think there's one on Stage Harbor Road also. I don't have the thing in front of me. What was that, Jim?
309.
Say again?
309.
309 Stage Harbor Road is a good example, you know, where there was an antique home, an old home, where we said, wait a second, could you put a faux chimney back up? And what do I mean by a faux chimney? We're talking about taking down the stone, the brick, the stone, you know, and then putting in a faux chimney, which effectively is plywood, cad, and in some kind of a structure which looks like the element. And I guess that's where we're coming from. You know, the concept that, in my opinion, and we'll get to the rest of the commission here, focusing just on the chimney, that literally is what I would call, as in definition of Cape Cod Commission, a character-defining feature. So the structure can remain a contributing structure. Without the chimneys, it looks like, you know, there's a house that was just built down the street where they tore down a circa 1900 home, and they built a new house, okay? It looks exactly the same, okay? I have no question about that, okay? But it's not the same. It's not. It's a replica. And we're not in the business of replicas when we can keep and maintain the original. And that's where we're coming from. So anyway, I gave my speech. I have a number of comments relative to your application of things which you didn't get exactly right in terms of what is or is not a national register. But I don't want to go into that. But I'd like to do at this particular point about it. We'll start at this end. Robert?
Yes, thank you for the terrific presentation. I wish they were all as thorough as you were in every aspect. And I'd like to thank the buyers of the property. This is an amazing property. It's a real treasure. I've been through this myself. So, so I believe that the chimneys are really a defining feature of that house. When you look at it, the chimneys are the ones that really jump out at you. And it's a key feature. And I just think that we should collectively explore other opportunities for trying to save those chimneys. I think the owners who are online here, I think they're down the road as they get deeper and deeper into this preservation. I think they're going to look back and wish that they'd saved the chimneys. I know that there are people, preservationists, that will look at this for either no or low cost to give opinions that have maybe been through this dozens of times. And so that's my feeling. Sorry, I went first, so I get to.
Andy?
Thank you.
Pass that to them. Bob?
Well, I agree with Robert. I think that the way the presentation was prepared, they mainly don't want the interior leftovers of the chimney, and we're not proposing that needs to be done. As Frank explained, a faux chimney you can take all that chimney out, which is number one goal, I assume, and put up a faux chimney that looks just like it, that doesn't require all the substructure, I guess, if that's the proper term. So you're getting what you want, and being cynical, you don't want to spend the extra money to put a faux chimney up, which doesn't do much for me as a preservationist. So I'm certainly in favor of replacing those with nearly identical-looking faux chimneys. And I'm also somewhat concerned that you spent a good deal of time in your presentation talking about the Form A and saying, well, it doesn't mention the chimneys. Well, but in fact, if you looked at the Form B, which you were required to present with the application, it mentions the chimneys twice, each one separately. So that doesn't make me feel good as what's going on here. Let me say that. But I have no problem with the doors, by the way. So I'm with Frank in terms of thinking this could be easily resolved by putting two faux, more or less identical chimneys in, which would look the same from the ground and serve the purpose of getting rid of the interior you don't want and preserving the historical look.
Bob? Excuse me, Steve?
I have some difficulty with this in a different respect. I am not wedded to chimneys. There are chimneys and there are chimneys. There are chimneys that make a house, there are chimneys that don't. They just happen to be there on an L or something. These chimneys, to me, are clearly built for stoves as opposed to fireplaces. In 1850, people were not building fireplaces. The fireplaces are inefficient and ineffective. And it was by 1850, people were clearly using cast iron stoves of one sort or another. Particularly their location would indicate that too. Chimneys on houses like that were either at the peak, if they were serving multiple fireplaces, or at the edge of one of the sides of the house. And these are not. One of them is clearly serving just an L that was built probably somewhat after the original house. And that clearly would have been a cast iron stove. They wouldn't have had a fireplace on the L, except in rare circumstances, particularly after 1850. One of the chimneys I noticed has brackets. If we ask you to replace the chimney, would we be asking you to replace the brackets? Because that's part of the appearance of the house that people seem to want to save. These chimneys are unique in the sense that they're tall, and because they're tall, they hit you when you first look at the house. If it was a relatively inexpensive process, I guess I'd like to see faux chimneys. On the other hand, to me, a faux chimney is a faux chimney. It's not a historic chimney. It's just a wooden box with some half-inch bricks wrapped around it to make it look like a chimney. Which seems to me to take away some of the significance of requiring you to replace a chimney. I wish I didn't have to vote. I like those chimneys. I like what they do to the house, but I try to be less doctrinaire and say if there's a chimney, it's got to be replaced. I don't feel that way.
Okay.
That's those are my comments. I'm not going to vote right now. So those are my comments.
Yes.
I agree with what Robert and Bob have said about the chimney. And what Steve said, there are chimneys and chimneys. However, these chimneys, I think, if the removal would diminish the historical significance of this home, which is very, I don't know, I guess some are more important than others in this town. This one's pretty important. And so I think it would be a better idea to try to either save them or, I can see, we saw the crumbled, they've got to go inside one way or the other. But I think, and I have no problem with replacing the doors. I know Frank and I don't agree on this, but anyway. But I think the chimneys need to remain in some form.
I find the chimneys very unique, different than many chimneys, and they also lead to the whole outline of the house. They're part of it. I feel very much so that we should have faux chimneys.
Thank you. Please.
That was a very nice presentation, and thank you. And thank you to the owners for preserving this beautiful building. However, I agree with Robert and Bob and just about everybody else. The chimneys, they catch your eye when you look at the house. And the inside of the inside chimneys, I understand, have to go. They really are in bad shape. But a faux chimney on the outside, 2 of them, I'm afraid I'm in favor of keeping the chimneys, well, faux chimney.
All right, we seem to have a consensus that we would like to see the chimneys, if not preserved, which you could do, that's not a cheap thing, I understand that, to take them down and rebuild them. I noticed also in your application there, you talked about allowing someone who was interested in the bricks, to salvage them. And that's very generous of you. Thank you very much. And you might find a taker, for that, assuming we get to that particular point. I'm not sure. We have people who do salvage, but not of chimneys, bricks, or maybe we do.
I have a list of salvage companies. I'm sure they would be interested.
Okay, so we do have a list of salvage companies. One of the other things we try to do, even though we're not the Conservation Commission or the Recycling Commission, we try to keep things out of the dump, okay? And I'm sure you do too, as in your
Yes.
business. And it
So
costs,
on that point, we're actually doing a walkway job for the South Chatham Library. I can't make any commitments because,
very good.
because the bricks will be full of mortar and,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they want to go to the expense of having acid wash bricks, but we'll certainly look into that. And, it's a historic building as itself. I've talked to the owners about it, and we've even talked about, right now they have stepping stones for their lawn and maybe salvaging the bricks for a walkway to the front door. Again, once the bricks come down though, the condition, sometimes it's
Sure.
it's a good idea, but sometimes it's just not practical. But we're gonna explore these options and ideas.
Well, I guess under full transparency, my wife is on the board of the South Chatham Village Libraries, and
Okay.
I got to be careful here. Yeah, I
Okay.
saw your sign in front of the library, and I said, oh, good, and they finally found somebody.
Yeah,
Nice sign. Anyway.
Thank you.
But that's a great idea, that we can retain those bricks in one way or the other, however it's done. So anyway, I guess we seem to have a consensus, hold on, let me finish. We seem to have a consensus for that, okay? So we could proceed in a number of ways. Now that you have the owners here, and I appreciate that, what we do at this particular point, just to familiarize it, we can take a vote and we can impose a demolition delay. I would prefer not to do that. I don't think you want that. So what I would like to suggest, under the concept you said, move things along, I understand time is money. If you agree that you would consider looking at potentially replacing the 2 chimneys with a faux chimney, I provided your contractor there, John, a copy of an example of what was done on 3 or 4 homes at a minimum in Chatham, the very historic homes, on the process. In other words, I'm holding it up for the owners. Would you consider at this particular point, if we just effectively continued the meeting, in other words, give you a couple of weeks to think about it? I don't necessarily need an answer now that you would commit to that, but if you want to look at that and then come back to us, we can dispose of the whole thing very quickly at our next meeting. In the meantime, you could still proceed and come back to us with a decision or a commitment to do a faux or not. Because right now, there seems to be a majority of the members of the commission who really would like to have that, happen. So can
Is the commission open to us doing one faux chimney and proceeding?
Say again?
Is the commission open to us erecting one faux chimney and proceeding? So
You know.
can we proceed with it seems like everybody's in agreement that we can replace the doors so the house can be occupied on a year-round basis, winterized, insulated. And then we understand, I listened to the opinions of the various committee members, and it seems like, there's gradations of opinion, but there seems to be a sentiment that there's a fondness for the chimneys.
My own
What I'm
opinion,
asking is-
my own opinion,
Hold on. What I'm asking is, can we proceed with one faux chimney?
yeah, I hear you.
Frank?
And I apologize for a lot of squinting. It's difficult to hear. Okay, it's Charles, okay. I hear what you're saying, but personally, I think the two chimneys really are what it's all about. And I'm going to take a quick, yes,
Frank, is it possible that we can separate the chimneys and the doors?
yeah, we
haven't
are.
had a
Right now, we're
okay.
just discussing the chimneys.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm hate to,
Right, so do we, so just so I'm clear, you've remarked on the consensus a few times. It seems like there's consensus that the doors are approved. I know it hasn't been
not
officially.
necessarily. We didn't really address the doors. I'm trying to focus on the chimneys. I hate to get down to the nitty-gritty on this, but it's probably easy to do that.
Well, that's the reason we're convened, is to get down to the nitty-gritty, isn't it?
That's a what?
So I said that's the reason we're convening this meeting, is to talk about the details. And I'm curious, so I've got some neighbors present who are supportive of my request to proceed without chimneys. Is their opinion, going to be weighed or?
We're sure, we would do that at the appropriate time. I was just trying to move things along at this particular time. Okay, and I'm not saying I need a definitive answer. That's why I said, I'm just looking for an indication, and you did provide that indication just now as the owner. And by the way, I really appreciate you being here. Trust me, I can't tell you how many times we're dealing with attorneys or builders and not with the owners, okay? And thank you very much for your cooperation from the consideration. And we can get down to the one or two. But we'll also talk about, before we move on the doors. We'll move that out very quickly, okay? It's not a big deal. But I just figured we were focusing on the chimneys, and I wanted to stay there. So you've given back another
Okay,
alternative.
and we can focus on the chimneys.
Yes.
Here's the thing, I don't have, I want to come out to make alternative, then we're gonna have to find somewhere else for her to live, various decisions. If I need to capitulate just to get my mother the ability to reside in that house, which we bought, which we've been faithfully restoring, then I'll make that concession. I mean, it's because I'm up against a wall. I do not have the time. I don't have the luxury of time here.
Yeah.
So, and you could say that I didn't, submit this request early enough. Well, we are where we are. And, if her comfort resides in me erecting two faux chimneys so we can proceed, then I guess I'm going to make that concession. And regardless of the support of my neighbors and my, the financial burden that it incurs upon me, I'll say yes. But
Okay.
her
All right.
safety and comfort are paramount to me as her son. And I guess, if everybody's going to impose this condition on me, then I will relent.
All right, fine.
So it's up
And
to you.
I appreciate that. Putting that aside now, because we were going to conclude this part of it and then speak to the public. Okay, but that's just in the process that we do. So generally what we're saying, we have potentially an understanding we could proceed with two faux chimneys. Putting that aside, okay, we could discuss the doors and get that out of the way, all right? Okay?
Sure.
Yeah,
Your
we're
wife's
in
shaking your head in the right way, so thank you very much.
We're in agreement with that.
Okay, all right, very simply. Yeah, Steve, is it related to the chimneys?
Yes,
You got a quickie, so we
I,
can,
very, very quick question. We keep talking about chimneys and faux chimneys. Does anybody have a ballpark figure of the cost of building?
let's not get into the cost.
Well,
That's really not our issue.
I do
The
have.
cost is relevant to me.
I just did it.
I mean, the cost is serious. The reality is, I've poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into faithfully maintaining.
I'm sorry, it's
this
hard to hear you.
Revival. You can't hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
No, I'm saying the reality is I'm pouring in significant resources to maintain the character of this house.
Yes.
And we're getting cut up on details. And your colleague over there is talking about cost. Cost is relevant. I mean, it's a consideration. And I mean, faux or no faux, I don't, like, it's coming out of my pocket.
Well, we
just to
understand that, and we
satisfy.
appreciate that. I mean, you've purchased a very historic home, and, you know, unfortunately, there are issues related to that, okay?
Right,
And
and I've been faithful to that, you know? I mean, you say I purchased a historical home, and I'm proceeding in a way that's very faithful to the restoration and maintenance of this.
yes, you have, and we appreciate what you've done.
And so why don't we split the difference? Because, I mean, why, I don't understand why is not, can you ask the
I really
commission,
don't
can
want
we
to,
take the-
you know, what we're doing now is we're negotiating. It was one, now it's two, now you want to go back to one?
I do. I want none, just to be
Yeah,
clear,
well-
but I'm willing, look, I'm coming here trying to satisfy the Historic Commission, because I know that your opinion is critical in this process. I want to satisfy your desires to maintain the character of the street in the way that you think is
Well, I think you've
most
heard, I think you've heard how we feel. And what I was trying
right.
to
and
do,
you put out- wait. Go ahead.
what I was trying to do at your request is to move it along. And I thought the fastest way to do it, if you wanted time to consider it, is to go ahead. We're not stopping your construction. You can proceed whatever you're doing interiorly. We have no authority relative to that. So we're not, whatever we decide here is not affecting the interior work that you're trying to do. You can proceed whatever you want to do, and I just want to make it clear, because you're making it sound
Right,
like, let me finish.
clarify that.
Let me finish. You're making it sound like the commission is stopping you. We're not stopping you, okay? We're dealing with two exterior issues. So let's make that clear. Let's not make us completely the bad guy here.
Yeah,
All right,
I-
we're trying
Well,
very hard
The person issuing
to
the person
facilitate
issuing
you.
the building permit has said that it hinges upon the Historic Commission's decision in this matter. Is that correct, John? Because if that's not the case, I'd love this to be clear.
Hold
Yeah,
on,
John Flatt.
hold on. Christina?
So this needs to be signed off by this commission, so if whatever is decided today will be signed off, and then the building permit will proceed.
Okay, and I'd like to be able to, for
Go ahead.
both the applicant and the commission members, there's been some questions and some discussion. Once we've heard, because there were some hands shown here, both in the audience and on the board. Once we hear all those, I'd like to address, and we can discuss in a little bit more detail. Thank you for the clarification regarding the building permit, because that is our understanding, that right now we do not have a building permit, and it's requiring this. But I would like to,
John,
for my,
let me do a second.
for my
just clarify.
customer,
The building permit for the interior work?
Sure.
So for the project itself,
project
there is a
itself.
building
All right,
permit
thank you.
submitted.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
the work that's been done is not permittable work, meaning that it's not required to have a permit. You're allowed to take plaster off walls, but we haven't
Yeah, well,
done it.
that's the point I'm
Yeah.
trying to make, John, but don't make it sound like we're stopping you. We're not stopping you from continuing, as the owner says, with the work that you want to do with the interior. You're making it sound like we're stopping you. We're not stopping you with the interior work. Our authority is only the exterior as it relates to the doors and to the chimneys, only that. So I don't want to make myself the complete bad guy here. We're trying to facilitate you,
Yeah.
okay? But I
And-
don't
and-
like the way the discussion is going here. Like, we're this bad guys, we're trying to stop you, cost you money. That's nonsense. We're not doing that. So let's focus on what we're talking about. Back to the chimneys. Go ahead.
Okay, so going back to the chimneys, again, we had some other people that wanted to discuss, but as far as the faux, you've already gotten a commitment from the
Yes.
applicant to rebuild them. And, you know, I'm certainly not gonna argue, the chimneys were done by a crafted mason. You know, as we've already heard, not every chimney looks the same. And, you know, this one has details in it. It was a, you know, a highly skilled mason. When we do the faux, part of it is the tallness was discussed. So I've got a point load, so there's some engineering that's gonna be needed. And I would like to be able to proceed. They may not be exact replicas. And it, you know,
Very good, and that's why I asked you, or I wanted to give you some time, is to put together a design of the faux that look, I realize it's not gonna be 100%, but you could try to duplicate some of the details, and that's all we're asking for.
yeah. And so you've
and
got the
that's-
commitment from,
Every brick? No, of course not.
from
But in
the
order,
owner.
in order for me to ensure that you could proceed, I just need a drawing, I sign off on that drawing, boom, the building commissioner says, go ahead, proceed. It's very quick, and we can do it in minutes, okay? We just need that to happen, and that's why I suggested, well, we'll give you a week or so, but if you don't want a week, whatever you want to do, it's up to you.
So unfortunately, if it requires structural engineering and so
Yes.
forth. So you've got a commitment that we're gonna, do 2 chimneys. And I would ask if we could go back to the building department for the rest of the project with the condition, and I've done this with Board of Health and so forth, so it's not uncommon that no occupancy permit can be issued until we resolve this to your approval.
What does the occupancy permit have to do with it?
So there probably can be a couple things done. You could maybe separate out the permit, the interior work from the demolition and reconstruction of the chimneys. And we can talk to the building commissioner about that and how we can proceed with that, so you're not held up with the interior work.
Thank you,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Boy, a bunch of bad guys were here.
No, I don't think anybody said.
I'm sorry, I was misreading it, that's how it sounded, but proceed, John.
No, so let's just back up.
Yes.
We had a request, and we're going through the process, and we appreciate it, and I don't think we have to belabor anymore. We've got a commitment from the owner, we've got direction to proceed, we've gotten clarification on it, and so, it's our understanding and so forth. So I don't think what's been said has been said and so forth, but I think right now, we're all on the same page of moving forward.
Okay, let me try to completely resolve this one. We'll go quickly back to the doors, okay? All right. I'm sorry, and I apologize to the owner. I looked at those doors and I see 1800, really beautiful old historic doors. I'm sorry, that's what I see. I guess it's a defect in my personality. Even though I'm an electrical engineer, somehow I look at an antique door and I say, wow, look at that, look at the structure. And I knocked on them, they were pretty solid doors, but that's not your request. Your request is to replace the doors with something. Now, I'll be honest with you, my biggest problem with what you're proposing, and maybe I'm misreading it, is side lights. There are no side lights on that current structure, if I think so.
Yes, there are.
There are? Okay. I'm looking for the picture. Oh, here it is. I'm looking at this one. I'm on the front door, but there's a second door.
And there's no sidelights on that
And that one
second
you won't
door.
have sidelights.
Yeah, that's just replacing the slab.
I'm sorry?
That one,
There
we're
are
just
permanent
replacing the
sidelights.
slab. The front door has side
Got it.
lights, and we're
Okay.
proposing a door with side
God,
lights.
that's my confusion, was I saw that picture. Okay, fine. All right, just very quickly, guys, it's a yes or no answer. Do you want to proceed, I'm going to start there. Sandy, do you want to proceed to replace the doors with the modern doors, yes or no? Unless you really feel you got to make a speech.
I don't want to go first. I'll go.
Come on, ladies,
I'll go.
go ahead.
I have no problem with replacing the door.
Right. Steph?
No problem with replacing the doors.
Steve?
We're gonna accept faux chimneys, we should accept faux doors.
A little sarcasm in that answer. I prefer in the future just the yes or no. Yes, Sandy?
Yes.
You ready?
I'm not in favor of replacing it with new doors.
Okay, good. Bob?
I'm okay.
Bob?
I'm okay with the doors.
Okay, good. All right, so we're okay. So what we're gonna do now, just so you know, for clarification, we're gonna get some comments from your public here, which is public comment. See, she helps me, she puts up a sign, public comment. Don't forget, Frank, okay? So very simply, we have one letter
From a neighbor.
from Mr. Potter, 391 Stage Harbor Road. We don't necessarily read the whole letter, but effectively, Mr. Potter is a resident in 391 and long-time homeowner, and he like us to continue to allow this home to proceed the way the applicant wants to, because they are, in fact, and I wholeheartedly agree with him, that they are attempting to preserve a very historic home and allow the removal of the non-functional chimneys. And we agree, the removal, except that we'd like to see something in its place. Okay, having said that, any member of the public want to speak for or against the application? Come on up, please. It was longer than I thought it was going to be.
Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to read quite a bit of this because the decision's already been made. But my name is Ann Timpson, 396 Stage Harbor Road. And I and my husband are one of 13 families who live on Stage Harbor Road year-round. And we are thrilled to have the Lackalades joining us as neighbors. I speak for many and respectfully Reservation Project. We believe that the Lackalades should be applauded for their incredible tenacity to save this 1860s Cape-style Greek Revival home. We do not believe that the absence of two non-functional chimneys that are not original to the structure should be an obstacle to the impressive restoration of this home. I won't go into all the details, but I can, Mr. Burlingham, her grandfather bought the house in 1930. Chimneys to me don't look like 1860s chimney, copying another faux chimney, I guess you could say, in terms of it was not the original chimney. The only thing that I have to say is I watched the construction of a faux chimney on a house behind us, a new house. And it's just plywood, and it's just very, very thin laminated brick. And we have a lot of 60-mile-an-hour winds in our area. We're close to the water. We get a lot of wind. And so to copy and imitate the existing chimneys on this house, I don't think a faux chimney, that tall would survive that long. I think it's a lot of expense and maybe not a practical design. I hope that you will accept faux chimneys that are lower, number one, because it's just impractical. And if you look at a lot of Greek Revival houses, their chimneys are not that skinny. When you're working with plywood and laminated brick and you're getting up that high, you're kind of asking for trouble, which is one of the reasons why there's an iron bar supporting the existing chimney. I won't say any more. Thank you very much for your vote on the new doors. I'm sure they will look great. We have one of those doors in our house, even though our house is not antique. And it seems to be standing up beautifully to the bad weather we have here. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wish to speak for or against the application? Okay, we're going to close this off.
Wait, well, there's actually, hold on. My neighbor, Stephen Clark, who's attending via Zoom, is here.
May I speak?
Yes, please introduce yourself.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Stephen Clark. I live at 368 Stage Harbor Road, directly across the street from the Lackalades at 369. My connection to Chatham is that my wife's family has owned a home in North Chatham for over 40 years. She's been coming for that period of time, and I myself have been coming to Chatham for the last 30-plus years. We purchased our home at 368 Stage Harbor Road in 2020, and we were very much attracted to Stage Harbor Road for its location and its historical charm. A few words about 369. When we bought our home, it was clear that the house across the street was in need of some love and deferred maintenance. But in my opinion, it had great bones, as I like to say. And we were thrilled when the Lackalades bought the house as a young family with deep generational ties to Chatham. And when Chaz and Cassie explained their plans to renovate the historical home very much in keeping with its original character, we were very excited. From our perspective, we see no reason to delay their plans to remove the chimneys. They're not functioning, and as I understand it and have heard today, are at risk of falling down. Personally, I disagree with the commission that the chimneys are integral to its design. It's hard to even see, from where we sit directly across the street with the beautiful trees in front, it's hard to even see the chimneys. So it's not something that that I think of when I think of the home. So I don't really view, in my opinion, that the chimneys constitute an important visual aspect of the structure, and I see no reason to require them to stay. We fully support the renovation work proposed by the Lackalades, and would hope that the commission would consider going forward in the way they've requested. Now, I've heard all the discussion this morning, and you know, I share the view that a faux chimney to me might be worse than no chimney at all. And I also am well aware of the high winds that we have on Stage Harbor Road, and would be worried about whether a faux chimney would survive long, and whether it might itself be a hazard. So I'm very much in favor and in support of the Lackalades proposal as it was put forward. And I thank you all for hearing my opinion.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Because this commission, one of the next tasks we're going to be trying to deal with as a commission for the town of Chatham is the issue of things or homes which are historic being allowed to become neglected. I mean, we call it demolition by benign neglect, not the house anyway, but the idea when things get neglected that they fall into disrepair, and we're kind of stuck between the rock and the hard place, like, oh my goodness, it's a house. And we've lost a couple of significantly historic homes in town, which unfortunately were just left alone and not repaired. And as a result of that, to the owners, trust me, we earnestly and honestly, applaud what your efforts are. Chatham is lucky to have so many people who appreciate the architectural significance of the community and to buy up these old homes and also to save them. We have another application right after you for somebody who has a very old home who's going to be putting a new foundation in. Same thing. If we don't take care of these old homes, they're going to all come down. Okay, I think at this particular point, I think we've got a couple of motions, quite a few motions, Bob.
Frank?
Just take it?
Frank,
Yes, Sandy.
I will vote to approve this application, but I want to condition it on that chimney.
Yes, we'll take care of that.
Okay.
We got it. All right, unfortunately, we got about 4 or 5 motions we have to take to approve this. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I'm hoping it's just 3.
Oh, we did the one, yeah.
We did the Chapter 158 finding of historical significance. This is the second part of that bylaw, which is the Chatham Historical Commission also finds proposed work to be done dated this date will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building structure. And when I reference to Ms. Porter's point, that if that proposed work for this date includes installing those faux chimneys and the doors as described,
Okay.
will not materially diminish, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
I second.
Second, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Bob?
Yes.
Steve? Yes. Stephanie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes?
Robert?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Okay, now Cape Cod Commission?
I move the Chatham Historical Commission confirms that
Second?
Second?
Yes, second.
Any discussion? Bob?
yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Seth?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes?
Robert?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. One more.
I move the Chatham Historical Commission find that the materials presented this date showing that the proposed alterations, including installation of 2 faux chimneys and 2 new doors, do not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in an eligible National Historic Register district, and therefore discretionary referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Bob?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes?
Robert?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. I'm sorry it became protracted, but hopefully we accomplished what you'd like to do. And thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Frank?
Okay, we have one other application. Yes.
I think it would be fair to give the applicant some little bit more discussion on the faux chimney,
We deal with
What-
that.
whether it
I
need,
deal with that by when the application comes in, we're going to get a design, and I will review that design.
just whether it needs to be as high as these chimneys. These chimneys are important to us partly because they're tall chimneys. If they're short chimneys, I think it'd be a different
Well, we've already
story.
completed that resolution, so I think we'll just move on at this particular point. And I'll have that discussion with the applicant, all right? Thank you. Something we should have brought up before. All right, let's move on, guys. We're never going to get out of here.
Be specified.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate the time.
All right. We have second application, 2402512 Mistover Lane. I can't find my agenda. I put it out. And it had notes on it. Thank you very much. This is a contributing structure in the National Register District, as well as be heard under Chapter 158. So why don't you introduce yourself and then give us a couple of quick items?
Good, is it still morning? Yes, I think so. Yeah, good morning. Tim Smith, Maplewood Homes.
Good morning. Tim, we have an open position
Is that chair right there?
right there.
Yes,
And
yeah.
you're allowed facial hair. if
You can have a beard on this board? Oh, good. Well, he just left. I thought he left because no beard, but,
Welcome.
well, yes, Tim Smith, Minglewood Homes. So, I could give you my history of Chatham, but I'm sure you all know it, so. We're here for Mistover Lane. We do have the owner here today, so if you'd like to ask some questions, we would be more than happy to do that. But this is pretty, straightforward. We have worked on this house for many years, and we have done this, he's doing what he's supposed to do to maintain it without letting it go too far before we run into the neglect. Maybe he hasn't, maybe he let it go a little far, but we're getting there. So, we're gonna go in and we're not gonna lift the house because we've already done some of the foundation, so we are gonna go in there and, we're gonna do it in segments. And we're gonna segment this and, with block foundation, 4 feet to meet code, and we will give it a full foundation. And as we get through that, any rotted sills, we will replace the sills, at that point in time. as we know, it's some of it sitting really low to the dirt, low to the earth. We are gonna regrade as well as much as we can to pull the dirt away from the structure and create a better pitch, pitching away from the house itself, from the main house. This picture here, you're showing the back section of the house. If we could more so give you an example of, are there more pictures with these? There we go. So that's the house that we're gonna be working with, that wing there and around the front. So the main section. We've already done the kitchen area, I would say probably 8 years ago or so. So, you know, we're gonna, we'll run into that. I think we'll be in pretty, you know, we know some of the floor joists will have some issues with them, but we'll get into those and have to, you know, you can't get under there now. It's all sort of sitting into the dirt right now, so. But it's very simplistic. We're not changing anything, as far as structural on the exterior whatsoever, so. That's about what we're gonna do. And I think you guys, understand that this is definitely a good thing for the house. It'll help restore it and keep it from, you know, it's such a beautiful piece. It's such a neat old house. It's been there, these guys have been there for a long time. And so I think that they're doing the right thing here.
Well, thank you very much. I think, you know, I do, and I think most of us wholeheartedly agree, this is a classic way to help save an old home,
Right.
18-something
This is-
original, and
Right.
if we don't do this to these homes, they're gonna disappear on us, you know, little at a time.
Yep.
I was commenting with the owners, or when we were there, that, you know, in the 70s, he didn't have shorefront property, but now he's got, you know,
It's beautiful, isn't
as
it?
the dune keeps
I
disappearing.
know, it's absolutely beautiful there. What a
It
view.
gets closer and closer.
Right.
You know, and so that's great. Okay, I don't have any other comments or questions. Anybody else? This is straightforward. Yes, Sandy?
I just have a question and I didn't see you there yesterday, Ladybug, but for the owner, are the pipes that I saw outside the house, are they going to be incorporated into that new foundation that run along the side, the gray pipes? Did I see? Those are gas.
Yeah, those are line sets for air conditioning that was put in.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
I'm talking about at the surface, on the ground. The gray pipes that. On the ocean side. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
you're gonna have to come forward. Come on.
They like to talk to the owners. Okay. Make sure you give your history for how long you've been.
No.
Well, if you want the history, I'll give it to you, but let me answer the question. The gray pipes, if you go to the view with the bay window, that's the ocean side.
Yep.
That's where the gray pipes you're talking about that run along grade. Those
Yes.
are gas lines to 2 gas heaters.
Okay.
And I had actually talked to Kyle about when we have the earth open, getting those back underground, which they once were. I don't know why, when they replaced the heaters, they went above ground, but this is a perfect opportunity to go back below. Whoops, sorry, are those yours? They were.
Well, thank you very much. My other comment is thank you very much for keeping this wonderful house and making the effort at hand digging out a basement. Goodness,
Not a basement, just a foundation
just a
wall.
foundation,
Yeah.
but even
Yeah.
so, a lot of
But,
work.
And the history he talked about, my family bought the property in 1934, when it was not waterfront. But there was just conservation land between us and the water, so we've always had a nice view, and we're gonna stay here as long as we can, if we can keep it from sinking into the ground. When he saved the kitchen for us years ago, it was steep downhill walk to the fridge, and now it's level, so.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay,
Frank, I've got a question and a comment, I guess. Tim, when you did the kitchen area, did you do it the same way you're proposing to do it here?
Yes.
Okay. And the comment is that our next door neighbor did something like this, except he already had a full basement, and it was a real bear to deal with.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know, it took a long time, so.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time. You know, it kind of, this reminds me as a kid building, you know, actually with my brother Jack, he did this a bunch of times, so, you know, going in there and doing it this way. It's, you know, it's very tight in there, it's non-invasive. We're not doing as much, you know, we pick up a lot of houses and we do them that way too. That's a little more invasive to this, so that's why we're doing it this way.
Well, there was that one down the street that lifting it up didn't work too well, so,
I'm not, well, hopefully I wasn't involved with that one, was I?
yes.
Oh, well. Oh, down the street, okay, I know what you're talking,
All
yes.
right.
Well, see, yeah, exactly, you run into some incredibly, unforeseen rot that powder post beetles or termites, they get you, so.
But there's no signs of that from the top, from what,
No, this is pretty good, there's rough stuff in there, it's sat in the dirt, so we are gonna find some rot with the sills, for sure. But we can replace those with a pressure-treated material and get those, back, and that'll give it the life as well.
great,
That'll save a lot of it.
all right,
Otherwise, I'm in favor.
good. Anybody else want to comment? I think we generally have consensus as a positive thing. All right, so Bob, why don't we reaffirm the historical significance and then move forward?
I move the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building located at 12, Mistover Lane.
12.
Why did I see 6? Anyway, okay, 12 Mistover Lane. Is historically significant because it's in whole or in part 75 years old or more and is listed within an area on the National Register of Historic Places and is located within that historic district. And we also find it's associated with persons within the economic and political history of the town of Chatham and protects architectural value in terms of significant period and style.
Second.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any member of the public wish to speak for or against the application? Seeing none, roll call, Bob?
Yes.
Steve? Note, Mr. Burlingame left. Stephanie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, one more.
I move the Chatham Historical Commission confirms.
Finish the delay. You said no delay. Did you do the second?
Oh, I didn't do that, I'm sorry, yep. Still as part of Chapter 158 demolition delay bylaw, the Chatham Historical Commission also finds the proposed work to be done dated today will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building located at 12 Mistover Lane, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Second.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Any member of the public? Nope.
All right,
Okay.
one more, I think.
Let me just do a roll call here. Bob?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes.
All right, and under the Cape Cod Commission Act, I move the Chatham Historical Commission confirms that the building located at 12 Mistover Lane is a contributing structure in the National Historic Register District, and move that the materials presented this day show that the proposed alterations do not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure in the National Historic Register District, and therefore a referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
Second.
Second, any comments? Okay, Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. Great to see you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. You guys
Take care.
enjoy the fall, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
We could use your expertise in that.
I know, I've tried, I'm just so busy, I tell you, kids keep you busy. Oh, wait a
Use your
minute.
expertise.
Oh, I enjoyed it very much. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, we've got a couple of quick old business things. I'll just make some quick comments and just bring everybody up to date. We did have a meeting with Christine O'Grady. Not Christina, Christine O'Grady, the new planner. And bottom line is, I think that the recommendation from her and other people was that we should focus on homes within the National Register districts and start there. So at this particular time,
That's a good idea.
she's meeting with Cape Cod Commission, trying to get some other information. And I'd like to say it's her number one priority, but she's new on board and, and she's got a full plate right now. So that's.
May I
that's
ask
where
a
we are.
question?
Say again?
Is she going to put in, or is it going to be put in about having some type of punitive measure?
We discussed that briefly, but, you know, it's on her list of things to do. So we need more, and it's definitely Stephanie, as soon as we get some information from her on where she is, you know, Steph and I would like to have a meeting with her, okay? Just to get a status, all right? I appreciate that. If you could do that, I would appreciate that. I haven't heard from Katie relative to the funding on the Form As and Bs. Could you just remind her, we're waiting on that, okay? This is to implement what we had decided as a commission on how to prioritize the updates to the Form As and Form Bs. I had conversations with Holly Herbster of PAL on the archaeological survey work that she's doing relative to the Nickerson Homestead Archaeological Site as a National Register District. That will proceed in October. Her contract ends in October, so she's guaranteed us she will get us that report. Once we have that, hopefully at our next meeting, we'll be able to review that report and make a decision on how to proceed with eligibility requests to Mass Historic. I guess we're still feeling the positive effects of the boathouse vote at the town meeting. I did share with you correspondence that I had with Greg Berman, who's the Director of Natural Resources, in terms of what it looks like for the boathouse, and he's talking about fall 2025 for something to happen once the piers and floats get into place. And so before that calendar year, hopefully you'll see the boathouse float back to Chatham, which would be great. Just wanted to give you an update on that. The other item which I wanted to comment on relative is two things. The archaeological protection of resources in archaeologically sensitive areas, and this is that zero crosswind farms, which I was requested to make a request to Mass Historic relative to the significance of their inquiry. So I did so with Paul Whitman, the I guess he's the agent, the conservation agent, and you have a copy of his response. I'm not sure where it goes from here. Basically, for the members of the board and the public, we requested a ruling from Mass Historic relative to the Zero Crosswind Farm Road property, of whether or not there were any archaeologically sensitive resources in the area. And I'd rather not go into the whole details of the memo, which is available to the public and to the members of the commission, but includes various sites, stone tools, et cetera, that have been found over time. But let me read the last paragraph. This parcel is archaeologically sensitive. The Mass Historic Commission recommends that an intensive local, how do you pronounce that word? Locational, thank you very much. Locational archaeological survey be conducted to any ground disturbing activities in order to identify and potentially avoid impacting any significant ancient Native American archaeological resources. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
But basically what they're saying is they're letting us know and the owner that, you know, you've got an archaeologically sensitive area and you should be careful. You know, legislative wise, we have no authority. Mass Historic technically has no authority except if there's a Native Indian burials there, okay? So it's just a kind of a heads up, which is what we've done with this whole archaeological survey. We can't tell people not to dig, but we can ask them to be very careful because you may be digging in an archaeologically sensitive area. This is something that's on my back burner in terms of should we being the town of Chatham, and I see select board member Dean DeCastro is online. Hello, Dean. And, you know, this is something that we might want to ask the town of Chatham to consider, to have some kind of bylaw which at least recognizes that Chatham is an extremely archaeologically sensitive area, and we should be careful. Just by way of information, the town of Chatham does that. Whenever the town of Chatham digs for roads or sewer or anything like that, they look for, before they dig. And they, in fact, hire an archaeologist to come in and to do a survey of an area before they actually dig, to make sure that nothing is disturbed that doesn't have to be disturbed. Anyway, so that's where that is, and pretty much that's all I have, which is enough. Anybody else have anything they want to add or talk about?
I have a tangential question, I guess. 150 Old Harbor Road, the demolition delay has expired and there are no new plans. I assume then that that's proceeding to a building permit? Okay.
Okay.
They just waited us out.
Any other comments? Sandy, did you have something? Okay.
I'll second.
After we adjourn? Okay, I guess that was a motion to adjourn. All right, any other comments? Mr. DeCastro, did you want to say something? I see you here.
No, I was just monitoring, but I will offer a comment along the lines of the subject that you were talking about just a moment ago. I would think if the commission is interested in having the town adopt some kind of archaeological-oriented bylaw, it probably should generate from within your commission with a recommendation back to the select board, as you've done in the past in other areas. I think that would be the appropriate avenue if this is something you think worth pursuing.
Thank you very much. I love the way when I try to give you a job that you send it back to me.
That's
Very
my
good,
function.
very good. You're very
That's what
adept at that. Thank you very much. Okay, all right, we'll do a roll call for adjournment. Bob?
Sure.
Steph?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Thank you very much, and thank you for the public listening in.
Bye-bye.